Hello everyone. I am going to be showing you all how to record and document your 830 Brickell building based off of the CAD file that you were provided for Studio. So when you begin, you will start a new file, and the end result that you guys are really moving toward is the model that's in front of me right now. So I'm going to show you kind of the 3D of what you're going to produce, and we'll go through step by step to introduce you to the tools that you'll need, and then you'll finish out and establish the entire model yourself. But you'll start off first with a new file. So you'll go into Revit and you will go into new. And you'll start off with a template that's going to be the architectural template. And then you're going to open that file. And once you're in that file, you're going to go into Insert and you're going to link the CAD file that you were provided on Google Drive. So make sure you download that to your desktop so that you have access to it. And once you connect to that on your desktop, you'll be able to link that. You'll need to unpin it in order to move it in between your elevation tags. So you want these elevation tags to be outside of it. So if you have to, you can move these here so that they're further out. And then center this inside of those elevation tags. So that way your elevations will be able to view the full side of the model. Once you have that, you want to repin it so that it doesn't move as you start creating your model. And the next thing that you want to do is to go to one of your elevations, and you'll want to make sure you change the level height so that your levels will be appropriate to the bottom of the concrete slab that we want to achieve. So on this, we will, for the first floor, you all will need to do 14 feet. So whoever is level 48, they will create their Revit model up to 14 feet. And whoever is on level 49 will create their level up to they'll start theirs on level 2 and go up 13 feet. So you'll create individual files because at the end you'll link your files together, but this will allow you to be able to adjust and create your own Revit file and not have to work in the same Revit file. So establishing who's going to be on level 1, which will be 48, and who will be on level 2, which should be 49, is important when you start your models, because then you'll know who needs to link to who, and they will link appropriately. So please establish that before you start your Revit model with your partner. And for our group of 3, you will have 48, 49, and 50. So you will have 3 levels that you need to assign to one another. So level 1 is technically 48. So if it helps you to rename it 48, then do that. We could do level 48. And then this one will be level 49. And then for the group of 3, you will add in another level here. And we'll make this one level 50. And this will be 13 feet as well. Oops. Let's make sure we put this correct off of this one. Hold on. There we go. All right, so then we would adjust this to be 13. I'm sorry. Okay, so it would be 26 because it's 13 above 14. I'm sorry, 27. Okay. So you would have your 3 levels, and you want to make sure you have those established before you move forward so that you know you have all your levels in here. And then from there, we can now start to create our floor plan. So like I said, if you're working on level 49, you'll want to make sure that you're in floor plan level 49. If you're working in 48, you want to make sure you're in 48. I'm going to go into 48 and we'll work there. Excuse me. We'll start with developing your curtain wall. So your curtain wall is just like any other wall, and you go under wall architectural. And underneath your options, you'll notice you have curtain wall, exterior glazing, and storefront. The difference between these 3 is that curtain wall just provides you with just the sheet of glass. So if I select this and I go into my settings here, and if I'm on level 48, I want it to connect to level 49. And when I start here, I will start and go all the way across in my CAD and draw the glazing over it. So if you notice here, I went across the entire glazing, and when I go into my 3D, you'll notice that it's just a sheet of glass, right? If you do the same thing with selecting exterior glazing, you notice when you create that curtain wall, it'll have these little notches in it. So these are what we consider our curtain wall grid. So it's preparing you to create a grid that has mullions. And we have mullions. And so if we go back into our 3D view, you'll see that that grid has already established itself. And there's a way that you can go and make that specific to whatever you're doing. So I'm going to go back to level 48. And when you measure in between your mullions, you want to do center to center. So we'll go here, we'll measure. And from center of the mullion to center of the mullion here is 4 foot 7 3/4 inches. Let's see if it's the same here. No, it's 5 foot 3. And let's see what it is here. It's 5 foot 3. So if you notice that most of these panels will probably be 5 foot 3 along this exterior wall, but you're going to have to modify some of the panels because they're not all 5 foot 3. See, this end panel is 4 foot 8 3/4. So using the architectural curtain wall tool, the exterior glazing is nice because you can set up, if you have a wall where all of the mullions are the exact same, you can set it up so that the those hash marks will appear the exact same distance. So when I select curtain wall exterior glazing and I go down here, notice how it provides me with an offset for the vertical grid and an offset for the horizontal grid. So the horizontal grid is going to be what we want to change to that 5'3". So we'll go 5'3" here, and we'll apply. And then the vertical offset we want to change to 11'6". And the reason we want to change that to 11'6" is because if you go back into your program, you notice that in the images that are here, all of your glazing goes up to a certain point, right? You have the bottom mullion, the in-between mullions, but then here, this is a closed panel that's not glazing. So we want to set a mullion on this window to go up to 11'6", because this is probably roughly 18 inches. And that gives us enough room to clear this 13 feet between the top and the bottom. So it's just kind of doing the math of where this mullion ends up. And that's where we get the 11'6". So, you know, when you do these for other projects, you'll have to determine that so that you can create your mullion grid. So you'll use 11'6" for this. And then we're going to go back to architecture, wall, architectural, exterior glazing. Notice how it's already set up because we changed those settings. And now we're going to draw the glazing across. And now every 5'3" is an offset for us. And we're gonna need to go into edit wall type. I'm gonna change this to 5'3", and we're gonna change this to 11'6". Okay, let's see. Now we can draw this across. And we should be able to measure in here 5'3". So it creates that divider for us. Now notice here, it's not going to necessarily align with your wall just because it's starting at the beginning. It's going from 5'3" from here to here. So what you want to do is to modify this to say from end and then we can adjust this and align our wall with, oops, let's go here. We can move our wall and align these with the center point of this. Okay. So now mullions should line up here, and that's one way that you can create your grid. And if we go into our 3D, we notice how these now line up with those mullions. Sometimes it's easier just to create the curtain wall itself, in my opinion, and then add in the mullions instead of having to adjust them. So even with this, the way that it is, if you go into architectural and you go to curtain grid, you can still adjust these. So if you go in, it'll try to get you to draw one. All you have to do is hit escape, and then it'll allow you to highlight the existing one. All you have to do is unpin it, and then you can go into your move tool and you can adjust where this is. So it's very easy to like adjust the curtain grid if things are not lining up the way that you want them to. That's not a big deal to do. It's just something you have to be cognizant of what's going to be easiest for whatever project you're doing. There's several ways to do this, but it just depends on what's best for you in the project. Because all of these mullions are not the exact same, I personally think it's a little easier to go into architectural, select curtain wall, create the overall glazing, and then come back in, go back to architectural, curtain grid system, and now I can create mullions at the center point of each one of these. So to me, that's a little easier because all of your mullions are not the same length. It's a little bit more time consuming just because you're going in individually, but it saves you some time with having to go back in and adjust every single one. So you really can choose the method in which you approach creating the curtain wall. But now that I'm going in to adjust this, I'm putting in each one of the grids individually. And now when I go into my 3D, I have all of those grids. Now the one grid that I will have to add in will be the horizontal grid. So I'll come in curtain grid, and on the horizontal, I will include one, but I will adjust that to be 11'6" like we discussed before. And now I have my full grid for the wall. So once you do this for each wall, I would go through and create the glazing, create the grid for each wall. Once you're able to do that, then you can go in and you can now insert your mullions all at one time. So the way you do that is you go to architectural, you click mullions at the top, and the default here is 2.5 by 5 for your mullion. Our mullions are a different size, so you're going to need to measure that. And what you do is you measure from the very exterior to the very interior. So we're going to go into modify, click our measure tool. And so our overall is 9.5. And our overall width is 3.5. So our mullion is going to be 9.5 by 3.5. So what we'll want to do is go into architectural, go into mullion, and we will want to edit this and duplicate it so we can create our own. So we'll adjust this to 3.5, and we'll adjust this to 9.5, and we'll hit OK. So the settings that we want to change in this to make sure that we have this placed the right way. This, for the dimensions, it's saying for the overall width on side 1 and side 2. What this means is that it's always taking it from the center point of the mullion here. So from the center point, how much is on one side and how much is on the other. Since our overall width is 3.5, if we divide that into 2, it's going to be 1.75. So we're going to put 1 3/4 in here so that we have it evenly on both sides. And our thickness is going to be 9.5 because that's the overall. Now, when we press this and we hit OK, and then we go in for our mullion, it's going to give us the option for grid line segment, and then all the grids. So grid line is just going to select one grid that it'll do that for, and then by default it'll set it up. So when we select that one, notice how it sets up the mullion. But also notice how the mullion projects outside of the glazing. In our situation, the glazing is on the very end of the mullion. So what we need to go in and change in this setting in edit type, we're going to need to change the offset. So the offset is how far off it is set from the glazing. So the dimension we would need for this is from here to here. So this is 4, but we want from the very end of the glazing. So that's 3. So we'll do 2.5. So that way it's not completely on the outside. We have a little bit of give on the end. So we'll go back into edit type. Oops, not for this. Architectural, mullion. There's our 3.5 by 9.5. We'll edit this. So we need to do our offset as negative 2.5 inches. And notice how it offsets it back. So that's exactly what you want to do. If you want to do it flush, then you could just do -3. But that allows all of your mullions to be pretty much flush with the glazing. So now when we go back into our 3D, if we wanted to select all grids, we could do it here and it would do all of the grids at one time. So that's how you do your curtain walls. And you want to make sure that you're aligning each one of your mullions with where they are on the floor plan, because not all of the mullions are the same distance apart. So like I said, it might be easier to go in, use your curtain wall, select the curtain wall tool, and then insert each one of your custom grids individually. Once you get to this point where you have the complete glazing, you'll want to, because at the top part of here, if you go back into this, you'll notice the top part is solid and the bottom is glass. So the way that you adjust that is you go in and you, under your modified tool, you hover over the front where the glazing is. You select tab, so it'll select your glass, and you change that from glazing to solid at the bottom. So you'll see system panel, you can change that to solid, and so then the top part will be solid and the bottom will be glazing. So you'll need to do this for all of your top panels. So your curtain wall system might take you a good amount of time, but if you do it right and align things, you'll be set to go. So once you get through all of that, you'll be able to now, on your level 48, you'll be able to adjust this wall, and you'll be able to now move this to align with your CAD, and it should line up right over it. Now, as you start to draw the walls, it can be hard sometimes to see whether it aligns with your CAD drawing. So the nice thing to do is to go under floor plan, under graphic display options, and you can edit these. And what's nice is that you can change the transparency of your drawing to 50% while you're doing and tracing over your CAD, so that way you're able to see if it aligns directly. So now I can see the hatching from underneath because the transparency is on, and I can tell that my line is exactly my wall is exactly aligned with the CAD file. So that's your curtain wall system. Next, we will go to columns. And the way you create columns is go to the column tool, you'll choose column architectural, and you'll need to know the diameter or sizing. So this is a 30-inch by 30-inch column. And we have a 24 that's here. And if you click down, it'll give you the other pre-made ones. So if we don't have a 30-inch, we're going to have to once again go to edit type, duplicate, create a 30-inch. And once you've done that, now you can change the settings below to be 2'6", 2'6". Hit apply, hit OK. And now you have a column that you can then place on your level. And you'll want to make sure that when you go into edit type, you can change the material because all of ours are concrete. So we can do concrete. And we'll do cast in place, apply. And notice how the hatching will show up. So it lets you know that your column is in Revit. So you'll do that for all of your columns. These ones, I believe, are 42-inch squares. So for the ones that need to be rotated, you'll do the same thing. Edit type, duplicate. This is a 42-inch square. You'll change this to be 3'6". Hit OK. You'll put this here. And then you also have the option rotate after placement. So you can go here, and then it will rotate it. Oops, here. And then we can rotate it this way after placement. So you can click this little tool here, and that will allow you to rotate the column after you place it in your Revit file. And then we can move it into place here. And if we need to rotate it further, we use the rotate tool here. Oops, wrong side. And then you just rotate it until you get it where it needs to be. Okay, then we'll move this. And you'll place all of your columns that way. The columns here that are a form that's not a complete square or rectangle, because the rectangle ones here, you'll measure that size and create a custom size for this one. So this one will be 3 feet by 4 feet. Let's see though. Yeah, these ones will be 3 feet by 4 feet columns. And these ones you will need to model in place. So what you will do is go to column, and notice how it's not a square, so you choose the model in place option, and we would just name it custom column irregular. Hit OK. And it's now going to allow us to create that shape. So you would hit create, extrusion. It's going to be 13 feet high because that's how high the concrete slab is. We're going to use this tool to trace what we have in CAD. And you'll do that for the one on the other side as well. And then once you're done, it will extrude that column up all the way. So you'll have 2 columns on either side. And then you can always go in and edit those to be the concrete material. And hit OK. And then you finish the model. So then you'll have your custom slabs there. Okay? So that's how you approach all of your columns. So you'll need to make sure all of those are included as well. These little guys that are on the side, I believe are like metal structures. So we will include those in our walls. And oh, let me go back to columns for a second. So the same way that you did the irregular columns, you'll also do the circle columns because you'll need to model those in place as well. So when you model those, you'll do the exact same thing. You'll go into architecture, column, here, and they're not rectilinear, so you'll need to model those in place. So you'll do circular columns, and then here you'll hit create, extrusion, and this time you'll use the circular tool. Since they are 40 inches in diameter, your radius will be 20. Oh, not 20 feet, 20 inches. So we got to select this and hit 20 inches. And then we will move this to a line here. And you want to make sure that this is, once again, the extrusion end is 13 feet high. So you'll do that for both of these, and you'll copy this. Make sure it's in place. And then you will complete your extrusion, and then you'll have your circular columns here. And once again, you can change the material again into concrete by going in here, concrete, and there you go. So that's how you approach all of the columns. And now we can go back to finish this model. And on your floor plan, we'll move to the walls next. So in the walls, what you're going to have to create, just like we did with the columns, you're going to have to use the default layers for the default settings that are there for the walls and modify them for the walls that we have. For this wall, I would just create, let's see how wide it is. It's 2 inches. So I would create under wall architectural, I would go here to maybe 5-inch generic, and I'm going to edit this and duplicate it, and I'm going to create a 2-inch metal wall. It's probably like a metal detail. So what I'll do here is now edit this, and the thickness of the structure, I'm going to make this metal. We will do let's do steel. And then we'll make this 2 inches thick, and we'll hit OK. So now we have a 2-inch thick steel metal wall that we'll then be able to create. So once you start here, you can always change. It's going to by default connect to the wall center line, but if you want it to connect to the finish exterior, you can do here, and it's going to align directly with your and you can always use the space button to flip it. I'm using the space button now to flip sides. I'm using the space button. And then here you go. So now we have that 2-inch steel metal wall that is going to be on both this side and this side. So that will be the wall for that. And then the wall for your core, all of these walls are a little bit different. So once again, you're going to have to measure this, but they're all going to be concrete. So this is 3 feet wide, and this is 3 feet wide. You also have a 2-foot one here, and then your typical 8-inch, 8-inch CMU, because all of this is concrete CMU. So what we're going to do is go into architectural wall, and now we're going to take that 8-inch generic masonry, and we're going to duplicate that to modify. So we're going to duplicate this. We're going to change it into 36-inch masonry. And we're going to adjust this size of the core. So we're going to go into this. We're going to adjust this to 36 inches. And we're going to hit OK. So now we have a 36-inch masonry wall. We're going to hit OK. And now we'll be able to do the same thing we did for that previous wall. It's already set to connect to the exterior face. So we will start here, go all the way down. And notice how all of our walls are on 50% transparency, so we can still see where the window is when we need to place that later. So you'll go in and do this for all of the walls. And you will notice that like some of these walls are gonna need to have drywall later on this side, and this side. So you will have to create and duplicate some of these walls. So you'll have to go and take that 36 generic masonry. You'll have to edit the type, duplicate it, and then we'll do masonry with drywall. We'll hit OK. Then we'll go into our structure and edit, and we'll add a piece of drywall to the interior side. So we'll hit Insert. We'll move that layer to the interior side. So if you notice how in this wall assembly, the concrete is the structure. That's the core of that particular wall frame. But we're going to add a finish, which is drywall. So we'll change this to finish, and we'll change the material to drywall. We'll hit OK, and we'll use a 1/2-inch board. So we'll change that to 1/2 inch. And notice at the top it says exterior side, and this says interior side. So we know it's on the right side. We hit OK, hit OK. And now when we go to our 3D, notice on the exterior side you see the CMU brick. But if you roll to this side, when we change this to 36 drywall, it'll be solid on this side because it's putting a piece of drywall on the finished side and leaving the CMU on the exposed side. So by going in and creating individual walls for where you need them, it'll help you to be able to set up all of your core with having drywall on the finished side where your design will be. But you don't need it, especially on the like in the stairwells or in this elevator core. You will need it for your elevator lobby though. So like this 8-inch wall that you create, you'll need to create an 8-inch drywall, one that has a drywall on one side. So you'll need to create the core for all of these walls, and like instances where you have a 36-inch meet up with an 8-inch, you would just stop here, and then you would use the 8-inch masonry here. And this, you would create one that has the drywall. Now notice how these are not lining up. One of those reasons is because this probably has a finished drywall on it, and this one, this layer, we currently don't have drywall on it, and this one we do. So we will once again duplicate this, create 8-inch masonry with drywall, hit OK, go into your structure, insert another layer, bring it to the interior side. So we want to go down, we want to change this to finish, and we want to make the drywall 1/2 inch. You hit OK. And notice how your concrete, even though it's an 8-inch block, is only 7 5/8. That's because that's what the actual size is, and not not the nominal size. So we'll hit OK. We'll hit OK. And notice how it brings this out a little bit more now that it's got the drywall on it. But they're still not completely flush. So the one tool that will help you with this is using the align tool. So you can go into align and hit where you want it to be, and then the one you want to adjust. And so it'll align it and you can lock it. Now, if you have to change this, you'll have to unlock this because it's going to keep those tied together. But this is how you build your core. So you'll need to create a 24-inch masonry, a 24-inch masonry with drywall, a 12-inch masonry, a 12-inch masonry with drywall, and then you'll be able to use the 5.5-inch partition on these walls on the inside. So this object here, this selection here, which is 5.5-inch partition, you'll be able to use in here for the 5.5-inch partition walls. I'm sorry, that's not this one, that's this one. So these walls on the inside that are 5.5-inch, you'll be able to use there. So that's how you start building your core and adjusting and modifying the walls needed for that. Once again, your core should look like this once it's finished. It has all the drywall on the drywall sides and the CMU on the side that you don't need it on. So it's important to make sure you're building that and you have it where it needs to be. So now we'll go back to the model we're building. Once you have all your walls in, you will need to insert doors. So your doors need to be loaded. So you'll go into Insert, Load Autodesk Family, and you'll go to Doors. And the doors that you want to select for this will be passage doors. So you need to download the single and hit load. And most of your doors will be 36-inch. You could do 36x7, but you'll also need a 30-inch door. So you can hit OK. And then we will place in, you go down to your families under doors. And now where it says door passage, we'll select 36. And it allows us now to insert doors. 36. And once again, you can use your space bar to change the direction of the door or the side here and here. I just noticed here that this wall actually furs back. So we'll need to adjust this to come back here. And we'll need to put in another 36 on this side. And then another 8 with the finished drywall on this side. So then we can insert our door, and we can change the side depending on what side of the door we're on, or wall. And then we'll be able to insert our double. Okay, we gotta load it first. So we're gonna load a double passage, and we are going to, we want it to be 6 feet, so we're gonna make it the same height as our previous one, which was 6 feet by 7 feet. And then we will place the door in here. Just like that. So you'll do that for all of your doors as well. Let me go ahead and add this wall so that we can create your stair. This is a 3-footer as well. So we would stop this here. Then we would get the 8 and create the rest. Use that space bar to flip the walls. Notice how that's not completely straight, so we'll want to go into our modify and align tool, align those together, and then create the other side here. And here. All right, so we've got, at this point, you will have all your walls in, so you'll do it for all of your core. And let me put this one in here so that when we do our elevators, we have that in there. Okay, so then the next thing you want to do is to do your stairs. And the way that you do your stairs is pretty easy just because you've already got the height of the levels in there. It'll pre-calculate how many stairs you need in order to get to level 49, or if you're on 49, what it takes to get to level 50. So that's why it's important to do those levels at the beginning. So once you start here, you'll start in the center and you'll do your run to where it has it on your CAD. So it's the template is there for you. And then you'll start your second run here. And notice how it creates that automatically for you, and you hit OK. And your stairs are in there. So you'll do that for all 3 stairwells, this one, and this one. And if you go into your 3D, you'll notice how it creates your stairs up to the next level. So it pre-calculates it based off of your level heights, so that way you don't have to worry about that. It's pretty easy to do stairs in this application. The next thing we're going to do is elevator. Now the elevator, you have to go to BIM Object and you need to download the elevator. So you'll go onto BIM Object's website. You can create a free account if you don't already have one. And under search, you put in elevators and you'll select the TK elevator, the Endura, and you'll download this. And you click download and you download the Revit files and make sure you save them to wherever the rest of your CAD files are so that you can find where it's at. You'll want to unzip that file so that way you can access it. If you don't unzip it, you won't be able to see it from Revit. So when you come back in here, now you'll be able to go back into insert, load Autodesk family, but this time we're going to do load family because you're going to go find where you saved that. So excuse me, I'll go to the folder where I saved it. And this is studio. So I saved it here, and you'll be able to download both the elevator and the entrance. So you want to hit open. It'll pull in the file. And then you can also go into Autodesk and hit elevator. It just won't have the door that comes with it. And it will allow you to download a hydraulic. So now when I go into specialties equipment, because that's where it saves elevators, you'll be able to see here that it's saved in there. And you'll also be able to see your door. So you'll have to do 2 placements. You'll have to do one of the elevator itself. And once again, you can hit your space bar that allows it to flip. And you know it's on the right side when you click it and these little arrows are at the front, because that's where the door is going to be. If they're back here or to the side, that means you need to rotate it because it's not on the right side. And then you'll do open for the door, you'll do center opening, and you'll put that right where the door is, and it'll create the doors for the elevator. So that's how you do your elevators. You'll need to make sure you have that so that if you do a rendering of your elevator lobby, it shows your elevator doors and is accurate. So please make sure you include your elevators and your stairs. And then also for this window that is here, we will go into architecture window. It is a fixed window, so you will go into edit type, and we'll need to know how wide that window needs to be. So we should measure it, measure the opening. So it is, looks like 5'4" 3/8". So we will go back into window, edit type. We will change this to be 60, duplicate. 64 3/8. And then we'll leave it at 48 high. So then we'll be able to, the height will keep at 4 feet, but the width will change to 5'4" 3/8". And the window, excuse me, the seal height, which means how high the bottom of the window is off the floor, will remain at 36. So we'll hit OK, and then we will insert this into our wall. And there goes our window. So once we have all of our core walls, all of our core doors, all of our core elevators, we will now be able to fill in our bathrooms. So the bathrooms are pretty simple. You just need to, let me add in this 8" with drywall. Here. And we will be able to download here into, just like we have with the other families, we'll be able to go in and you can put install. And then all the families for the bathroom stalls will come up. We'll use this one, this ADA one that has a toilet and the grab bars already included. So we'll load that in. And notice that it won't appear until we have a host for it. So once we have a host, we'll go into specialty, let's see, 60 by 60. Drag this in here. And now when we actually have a host for the wall, it appears. So we'll need to rotate this with the space bar to get it to where it needs to go. And ours is a little short because this is 60 by 60, but ours is a little longer. So we'll need to go in once again and measure how long ours is. So from this part of the partition to the wall is 7'5" 1/4". So we'll need to click on this family, edit type, and we'll duplicate this to be 7'5" 5.25 inches by 60. And then we'll change this length, or no, width, 7 foot. And see how it extends it. So that way we can create it based off of what we need. And then we'll do the same thing again for a single stall. We'll go back into insert and we'll insert Autodesk family. And instead of doing an ADA stall, we'll do a single toilet here. We'll hit load. And toilet with stall, I believe ours is a 32. Let's measure. Yep, it's a 32. So we'll use the 32 by 60 or 32 by 56. Well, actually we can use the 36 by 60, so that's the same width. And then we'll flip it so that the frame is on the outside. And then we will adjust the width because this one's 36 and we need it to be 32. So we'll edit type, duplicate, create another one that's 32 by 60, hit OK. And then we'll change this to be 2'8". Hit apply. Okay. And then we can move this to align where we need it to be. So you will do this, and once again, you'll download a urinal. There's a urinal with a partition. Each one of these families you'll download. And then the one that is different is the countertop, because that is under casework. So you'll go into load family, you'll hit counter, and notice how it has the countertop with sinks already. You'll hit load, and then when you go into casework, it's a different category. It won't be under specialty, it'll be under casework. You can then load in a 72-inch here, and once again you can use your space bar to modify or rotate. Oh, I don't have a wall back here, that's why. Let me make a wall. Now we can try this again. And there we go. So now it'll allow me to put that in. So since it's longer than 72, I can pull this to adjust to the end of the wall, and it adjusts to make more sinks. So this is how you completely furnish your bathroom space and include that. And once you're done with all your walls, columns, all of that, your plan and model will look like this. So you'll have all of your columns, all of your curtain walls. These will be filled in, and these will be glass. And the last thing that you'll do is add in your floors. And the easiest way to add in the floors is by selecting the walls. I don't have all the walls in this starter model, but I have them in this one. And the way that you start it, let's go back to the starter model. The way that you start it is you go into architectural floors, and it'll ask you if you want to pick existing walls, and you can do it based off the walls that you already have. So I have this one curtain wall, and then I have these walls, so I can go around and select them. The important thing to do, though, is when you're doing that, you have to make sure that you flip this. So I would hit these little lines here that allow you to, actually you can align this. So align this line with this one. So you click this line and then this one, and it'll align it together. But you have to make sure that these are closed, like there's no gaps in between these wall lines, so that your floor will form properly. And once you do that, I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to go into the one that's done. I'm going to highlight the floor. let's see. I'm going to filter this out because I only want the floor. I'm going to show you how that final line should look once you're done. Like all the pieces should connect. Even on this curved wall here, they want to connect, right? So making sure that you do that is important. So that way you have a completely closed line and it should go around your entire perimeter. And once that's done, you'll hit that and all your floor will pop up, and you should select a 12-inch concrete slab. So you can start with the 12-inch generic, take that and duplicate it and make another one and make it a 12-inch slab. So this is why the first floor has to be 14 high, because it has to accommodate for the second floor's 12-inch slab that's going to impede on it. So please, it's really important to make sure that if you are floor 48, that you are 14 inches at the first level height. So then you'll have your floor and your model will look like this, and you'll be able to go in, select the CAD file, and you should be able to hide it. So hide in view, and I should be able to see all of your elements, your restrooms, everything, sinks, all of that, stairs, without your CAD file. So it's important that you make sure you test it so that you have everything and all your elements included. All your columns should show up. And this should be your base Revit file once you're done. So this is floor 48. So it's only on this first level. And if we go to 3D, it'll look like this. Then what you're going to do is link your file to your partner on floor 49's file. And the way that you do that is you're going to take your file, and both of your files are going to have to be in Dropbox in order for you guys to access them. So it's important for you guys to use your Google Drive, so that way your partner has access to your file to be able to link it to their model. And what that does is that you'll continually update your file onto your Google Drive, and your partner will be able to go into the same way we linked the CAD file. So we'll go into Insert, and you'll just link your partner's Revit file. So I'll select whoever's level 2 is, and I will hit Open, and I'll hit Yes. And notice how it will link your partner's file into that. So you won't be able to edit your partner's file or change anything, but it will show on top of your level. And so you'll be able to see how your floors connect. And I would recommend the person who's on level 49 to do the cutout with the stairs, because then it will drop into your partner's floor on 48. So this is how you link the files, and we'll be able to coordinate if things are on top of one another. So then you'll be able to see on level 2 your partner's work, and you won't have to change it, but you'll be able to like coordinate with it. So that's how you link the files. And it's important to make sure that you link each other's files so that you're able to really coordinate where those cutouts in your floor plate are for the stairs, and have all of that information in there. The last thing that I want to cover, that I realized I didn't cover from previously for the walls, was the curved wall. So the curtain wall is just like the regular walls, except for when you go into wall architectural and you select that curtain wall, you're going to use the arc tool, which is here, and you're going to arc it. So you're going to go here, and then the end of the arc, I believe, is here, and then you'll choose the center, which will be like here. Oops. Hold on. not deleting. Here, let's go delete this. Let's try this again. I'll try this one. Not sure why it's not curving right now. Hold on. It's weird. Okay, it should curve all the way. If it doesn't, you'll just have to segment it. But it should curve all the way. I don't know why it's not right now. If you have to segment it, of course, you can do face by face. But the arc should work. It worked in my previous file. I don't know why it's not working now. But as you can see here, I created this arc based off of the curtain wall. And I'm wondering if it's because, you know what, it might be because we need to do it with the grid in it. So we might need to go into exterior glazing and do it. There we go. So yeah, okay, so you have to use exterior glazing and not just curtain wall, because then it'll adjust for the ribbing of the size. So then here, we can adjust this wall to, the segments could be 5 feet. And we hit apply, and notice how it changes that, the facet and the round of that, so that you can get that curved wall. Okay, so that should set you up to get your base model, and make sure that you're able to put that together to start your Revit. I also wanted to briefly touch on, for those of you who were not aware, on how to do your bubble diagramming. You can go in to your working, well, you wouldn't want to do this on your working floor plan. You would probably want to duplicate this, duplicate the view, duplicate with the detailing, and create a different view that is named bubble diagrams. And on that view, you can then go in and create a color scheme. And when you create a color scheme, you're able to go in and create like a legend and different colors to use for that color scheme. So you can do that with by defining your, let's actually define your areas first. So here on your architectural tab, you notice how you have room tags and then you have area tags. On your area tags, it's nice because it's going to include your square footage. And so for your area tags, you have to define the area of your plan, and you want to use the gross building space. So you can do 40 level 48. You hit OK, and it's going to ask, can it do your exterior walls? And let me actually do this in the finished model because it has all the walls in it first. I'll get out of this template model. So we'll define our area in here because this has all the finished walls. And we'll do the gross building, level 1, okay. And notice how it selects all your exterior walls to create like the gross square footage for your space. This includes the building core. If you want to do without the building core, you would do the rentable space that leaves this core area out. And in defining your total area, notice how area boundary now comes up because the purple line is your total area. So when that shows up, you're now able to go in and you're able to define little bubbles of area that give you, that you'll then be able to tag and get the square footage. So once you go in to tag those areas, you can go in now and create a tag. Got your boundaries. Let's use the rectangle tool for this. And so for example, if you want this to be like a 20-foot by 20-foot space, because you've got the exact square footages from your program that you want to include, you can make that exact. And then tag this. Let's go into, okay, this is on our working plan. We want to duplicate the view. We want to name this. Oops, I don't want to duplicate it twice. I'm going to rename this bubble diagrams. And level 1. And then I'm going to do this again. There we go. There we go. Let's do 20 by 20. There we go. And then let's see if we have to download the tag. So then we'll be able to go in to Then we'll be able to go into this, create color scheme, and we'll be able to name this and then we'll be able to add in, for example, if we have like a cafe, we can add in, if we have a lounge space, we can add in small huddle. And notice how it assigns a different color to each, so that we'll be able to use that. And then when we come in here, we should be able to tag. I don't know why it's not tagging these right now. Let's delete this. It should go right in and tag it for you. I'm not sure why my tags are not working right now. Okay, let's hit OK. And we should be able to tag this. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why it's not allowing this. But once we have that, your color scheme will pop up. Once again, like you'll create this area type. Not area type. You want to put name. You want this to be name. Hit OK. You want this to be bubble diagram. And we're going to duplicate this one to be bubble diagram. And then we'll hit OK, and I'm not sure why it's not letting me tag this right now, but you'll be able to go in and you should tag this and it'll create the colors based off of the color scheme that you have. So if you've got the bubble diagram color scheme, when you go in to select the tag, it'll let you tag that based off of what it is, a huddle space or whatnot. I'll have to see. I don't know why it's not tagging these areas that are defined. I'll have to figure out what's going on. But that's how you are able to create that in Revit. So if you want to do your bubble diagramming and transfer it over so that it helps you to move this around when you start doing space planning, that'll be helpful for you. There we go. I was hitting the wrong one. So you're able to put the area in here. But notice how it gives it a color. And then you can go down here and classify it. So you can go this particular area is conference, so you can change the color. Area boundary. So then this one might be a 9 by 10 space that you go into. Area. And change this one to huddle space, and it'll tell you the square footage. So then you can take these little pieces and you can move them around and create your bubble diagramming. And you can even go back in here and edit your color scheme. And if you have like certain components within your conference space, so like say you want to do like like your cafe, and then you've got subcategories within your cafe. So you've got booths, cash wrap. Like you can create those as like subsets of it. So say we want cafe to be blue. We can hit OK, and then we can make the cash wrap inside of the cafe like a light blue. This is dark blue. And then the booths can be like an even lighter shade of blue or purple. Then we can hit OK, and then you can start creating like subsets within that. So you go back into architecture, create area, boundary. Then we could do like a large cafe area here, maybe it's 30 by 30. We insert this. We change this to cafe under name. And then we go in and create another sub area inside the cafe that maybe is like, these are our booths. And then we go here and we use that area and we target that as booths. So it allows you to go deeper into like your space planning. So you can do that in Revit. I would just duplicate like your level and create one separate for bubble diagrams. So that way, once you go back to your level 1, it's not, your bubble diagrams are not on there. So that's important to do when you start getting into floor plans and changing those and modifying them for things like this. And you know, you'll create a separate view for furniture, so that way you don't have all of your stuff in the same model and you can go from one view. Like your working plan should only have your walls and stuff on it. Then you want to duplicate your view for a furniture plan, so forth and so on. So if you have any questions, please let me know. You can email me or ask me in studio, but this should help you to get your base model up and running.